Welcome into the non-neutral zone. It's all about football with Brandon, Josh, and producer Gunner.
Happy Tuesday, my friends. We're back. This is the non-neutral zone. I'm Brandon, and I've got Josh here with me.
I'm back as well.
Yeah, we are a two-man band. We're getting used to this thing, kind of settling in. We might get another prominent voice on for you guys soon. But we are kind of running this as a two-man show as we lead up to the NFL season.
We're getting so close to kickoff. You can almost taste it.
You can taste it. You know, we were playing out in the yard yesterday, pushing little Nellie as her daughter in the swing, and it just felt like football weather. It was yesterday morning, man, and it just was fall weather, and I just could picture, college game day or NFL Fox on Sunday, just in the background.
Oh yeah,
feels like football.
I'm excited for it, man. Like, geez, we need it too. Like, we all need to be able to watch football together.
Yeah, it brings
6 feet apart, of course, but
right, naturally, yeah. But it does bring people together. And last weekend, high school football started for many states across the country, and so I know here in Tennessee we had high school football that was happening, and it's been really, it warmed my heart to see so many pictures on social media of just guys getting able to play and communities being able to rally around that. So I'm thrilled that that we're on the cusp of football season all around.
Pushing through for some unity there. Like, it brings us together even when we're against each other. We're still, it's the same sport and we love it. So
it's an escape from some of the the realities of this dark world that we live in. So we're happy to share that with you guys. We are the Non-Neutral Zone, and we want to send you to our Twitter to check out content there at Non-Neutral Zone 1. We'd love it if you'd like subscribe to our podcast, and if you wouldn't mind giving us a 5-star review, we would certainly appreciate it. With that said, let's get to it.
That just happened.
That did just happen. So your boy, actually, this is Rosalie's boy and my boy, Thaddeus Moss was released.
Just a second before we get started, I just want to remind everybody, since this is the news, this is draft week. This is like fantasy football draft week nationally, and so this is exciting. That's news, right? Like,
that's true. I just had my first redraft league draft last weekend. Josh, it was 10-man PPR. 5-year running league, and dude, I'd love to break down how much I just wrecked that league.
It was an exciting looking roster. I'm not gonna
lie. Picking from the one, I was a little concerned, but I had just to kind of, it was a 10-man full PPR, and obviously I drafted Calf at the 1, and then I was concerned about my running back situation at 20 and 21. But Josh Jacobs fell to me at pick 20, and Devontae Adams was still there. So I was able to stock up, and it just continued on like that.
And if things happen the way the hype is going right now, if it happens that way, Josh Jacobs is going to be a fine PPR running back. And
oh yeah,
and we all know that Christian McCaffrey is a fine PPR running back. So I mean, getting Adams in the third round, that's crazy. So.
It's nonsense. I know some of those bozos listen to the podcast, and I just want to thank you for not heeding our advice and drafting quarterbacks in the first round and kickers in the 9th round. All right, let's get to the news. And so Thaddeus Moss was released by the Washington football team with an injury designation. It was a corresponding move to the addition of 2016 first-round pick Joshua Garnett.
Yep. Garnett, I think he was injured after his rookie year a little bit, but he's a former first rounder. So we talked about on the last show when we had Rosalie on, I kind of highlighted the fact that their offensive line has some problems. And so it's a real need for them to kind of shore that up. And it doesn't do you any good to trot those same guys out there this year that you had last year. And you need to add some other pieces in there and find out if you can improve. And this is a way to do it. And we believe that Thaddeus Moss, he'll be back on the Redskins after he clears waivers. But
yeah, he'll end up on their IR. But I think what you're saying is important. I had to initially figure out who this Joshua Garnett was, but he was drafted in the first round for a reason. And so if you're an offensive lineman going in the first round, you clearly have talent, and maybe for whatever reason it wasn't a good fit scheme wise or personality wise or just injury wise, but it didn't pan out
I
in
think
a great way in San
I think
Francisco.
last year he was with the Lions too, and maybe he got banged up there. But he basically made it through his rookie contract with the 49ers. They didn't pick up his option, this and that. Went to the Lions. Let's just be honest. The Lions is not the best organization to try to bounce back from an early bump in the road. So, Ron Rivera, high character guy. He's if Joshua Garnett has it from a talent perspective, they're going to get it out of him.
It's going to be good. Yeah, it's a good move. And what you said is a good point, that you just can't keep trotting the same guys out there expecting a different result. So I hate that for Thad, but hopefully he can get right, get well. He's got good genetics and maybe get an opportunity in the future. Moving on, Raven.
This guy's a knucklehead.
I know. Ravens safety Earl Thomas, he got sent home from the team's facility last Friday and wasn't allowed back at practice or he was invited back to practice on Saturday, I believe.
They called and told him, "Don't come. We don't need you here while we figure this out."
Because he was in a fight with teammate and fellow safety Chuck Clark. So Thomas wasn't there at practice. And according to Twitter, there's a movement within the Ravens organization that they want Thomas gone.
Well, it got brought up, when the whole situation with Thomas and his brother and all the stuff in that hotel room or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The conversation started then where the Ravens were considering hitting him with that conduct detrimental to the team. And if they do that, they can cut him without a cap hit, because that's the situation is the cap hit would be too much. They can't move on to it from. So right now they're just figuring out, can we do this? Can we hit him without taking that cap hit? And if they're able to do that, He's gone, I believe. Which is, man, it's so weird because
he was a big part of that defense this past year.
Yeah, like other than the play against Derrick Henry. But he was a big part of what they did, and so he has to really be a pain in the neck for them to want him out of that locker room. So weird.
That's what that's what I was gonna say is like he must be bad. He must be a terrible teammate just to have to deal with that. And you read the story about him and his brother and the orgy and like how that all played out. And he's at a minimum, he's a weird dude.
Oh, but, yeah.
But he's must not be a good, fun teammate to have.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it all comes back to that. I mean, you watch that wedding video from him and his ex-wife's video. I don't know. Did they get divorced? I'm not sure. It's irrelevant.
I'm not sure.
Wearing the crown and the cape and all that stuff. Like, get out of here, dog. Like,
yeah. Weird dude. So I wouldn't tell that to him to his face. And so I hope if Earl Thomas, if you're listening to this podcast, man,
I would
knuckle bump from far away, man. I no ill will meant from me.
I'm just calling him like I see him. And so if he wants to clock me one, that's good. I'll see you in court, sir.
All right, let's stay with the Ravens. Next piece of news: Dez Bryant worked out for the Ravens this past week. I think he's 46 years old this year. Nothing seems imminent according to reports. How do you feel about it if it happens, Josh?
I think he's a good addition for him, because it seems like, I mean, he came out on Twitter and he's like, I don't care if y'all run the ball every time, I'll block. I want to help you guys win. So I think he's at a point where he just wants to play ball and he does want an opportunity to win. And I think he likes Lamar Jackson as a player and a person. It seems like they've maybe done some stuff together, working off to the side, pitch and catch, if you will. So I think there's room for him on that roster. I'd rather see him sign there than Antonio Brown. Not just from a locker room standpoint, but also
he fits what they do. He fits
that, and there are not enough passes to really go around to keep Antonio Brown content. And
yes, correct. So, and Dez Bryant is a bigger receiver and can block, and he's more humble, or been more humbled than Antonio Brown. So he's not gonna cause a stink when he doesn't get his,
he's always played more like a tight end than a wide receiver. And that kind of suits what Jackson does. And also it'll be good for the growth of Hollywood Brown, because if you bring in Antonio Brown, his cousin, Hollywood feels like he's being replaced as the wide receiver one on the team. If you bring in Dez, he feels like an auxiliary piece, somebody that's there to help the team and help him more so than replace him.
Yeah, so I called Dez Bryant 46 years old. You want to take a guess at his age?
I'd say he's 31, something like that.
He's 31 years old.
Okay.
That's wild. I mean, he's been out of the league, I mean, for 2 or 3 years.
Well, he was with the Saints last year, but he didn't
make the active roster.
Didn't stick with him. Yeah, like he was coming back from that Achilles injury, and so he was available last year. He just didn't get signed to a team. So, like I say, with the Achilles injury, he's lost some explosion. Not everybody is Emmanuel Sanders, but I think that he can play a role for that team.
Yeah, and that's a good fit for him if he were to sign with the team. All right, moving on. So last Saturday morning, the NFL released a statement on a setback with COVID-19 testing. So you may be more familiar with this than I am, Josh, but as I understand it, there was some irregularities with one of the testings. Senator, here, let me just read the NFL statement. Would that make it less confusing or more confusing?
I'm not sure. I mean, we'll see what the listener thinks. I mean, we'll give it to them verbatim, and then we'll
straight from the NFL. So quote, Saturday's daily COVID testing returned several positive tests from each of the clubs serviced by the same laboratory in New Jersey. We are working with our testing partner, BioReference, to investigate these results, while the clubs work to confirm or rule out the positive tests. Clubs are taking immediate precautionary measures as outlined in the NFLPA's health and safety protocols to include contact tracing, isolation of individuals, and temporarily adjusting the schedule where appropriate. The other laboratories used for NFL testing have not had similar results. End quote.
So to me, that even sounds a little bit like an accusation against that laboratory. They're working with them to investigate the results. So they said they haven't seen the results at any other of their testing facilities. So we know that New Jersey is going to be a little bit more of a liberal area of the country. We know that there is a motive they're trying to push right now with the events that are coming up in November. We're not really going to elaborate on all that on this show, but to me, it's just interesting. And if there's any funny business, because all of those tests are supposed to be turned in, to my knowledge, with no knowledge of who it was supposed to be that gave it in. So they shouldn't even know when they do that test in that lab that it came from the NFL. So if they found out, these are NFL tests that we're doing, and maybe all they have to do is look at this huge batch of tests. I bet this came from an NFL team. But I won't be surprised if we see a lot of false positives coming out of that.
Yeah, which just stinks that it's like that. If that ends up being the case, because it invalidates so many people that are doing good in this world, that they're so quick to name some of these things positive, or I don't know. It just seems disingenuous, and it's just sad. I hate it. I don't view it as a setback, and I think that they were indeed throwing some shade at BioReference.
Mm-hmm.
None
of the other laboratories to see, because they can retest. Results.
It's weird. Weird. All our positives.
What's that?
I wish all our positives came from the same laboratory. Weird.
Yeah, and what doesn't make sense about it is all they have to do is retest, because they have the way it's set up. You can retest every day until you come back negative. So these players that they tested positive, they're going to retest, and they'll find out pretty quickly if they've got a false positive, and be able to push forward from that. So it's just kind of a weird thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out, and by the time that this pod drops, there may be a development on it. So this pod will drop on Tuesday morning, and this report was on this past Saturday, so a lot can change in 3 days. But hopefully, it isn't indeed a setback, and it's just a story of something that happened.
Yeah. Adam Schefter is who reported the statement from the NFL on the incident. He called it a setback, but I guess that anything that shows more positive tests would be a setback
Right.
in terms of what they're trying to do as a league and a business. So, but I don't think here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be football.
Yeah.
There's going to be football. They can do whatever they want with the COVID. The NFL has a huge workforce, not just from the NFL players, but you have former AFL players that no longer have a job, XFL, Canadian football that would love a job in the NFL with more money. So they have a huge workforce to pull from and to put people in the field. It's gonna happen.
All right. I like that definitive statement that you got there, Josh. Is there any other news that we need to cover from this past week?
Not to my knowledge. I think that's pretty. I mean, we could go on and on with camp stories, but I think we'll do something coming up with that and free balling.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Free balling.
Oh yeah, we got them out, ladies and gentlemen. We're free balling. Yeah, shot calling. Here we go. This week for our main segment here in free balling, we're gonna do something a little bit different. Teams in the middle of camp. We got Hard Knocks going on every Tuesday. So much fun. You've been watching Hard Knocks, Brandon?
I haven't, man. I don't get HBO. We're poors.
Yeah, HBO Max, man.
Yeah, we're not. You have to give me your. Go ahead and give the listener your login so that.
Right. You get HBO. You get HBO. But yeah. So it's fun. It's been cool to see that. The first episode they really set up how they're working through all the COVID stuff that we just talked about, and it was cool to see. And the precautions, and it's easy to see why players feel more comfortable than they did before training camp started. They're really doing a lot of work with that, and good on them. So, but all that said, with camp going on, I was like, let's be fun to hit up some of our favorite camp stories and comp them with some of our favorite camping situations. Like when we go camping out in the woods or in a camper, however it is, in your backyard
at a Hilton property.
Exactly. So wherever you camp, it's all about what you're doing while you're there and the people that you're with. So let's talk about these people, some of the camp stories they have going on, and let's kind of break that down.
All right. So what's our first camping story that you got for us, Josh?
Well, I can go ahead and get into the Bryce Love.
I know you would love to.
Oh yeah, man. He's been taking a lot of the reps left over from Adrian Peterson. He's kind of running with the ones when AP's catching his breath. Seems like he's the second running back. Let's be honest. The first running back, Adrian Peterson, he's an elder statesman, and he's probably not really the RB1. Like he's going to get spelled quite a bit.
He'll be the starter. He'll be the named starter, but yeah, he's not going to be.
He's getting that first run at the first week of September. But Bryce Love was a 2,000-yard rusher before he tore his ACL there, his last game in college. He was a monster. And but anyway, so when you go camping, you get all these ingredients together, make all these complex dishes in your Dutch oven, or, you're going to make s'mores. You grab all this stuff up and you got it all packed up, and there's always something, that you have packed that you forget you had. And I think that's Bryce Love. He's that $15 bag of jerky that you got in your bag, and it's delicious, but you've got all this stuff and you forgot you had it. Like it's great. But, so like Bryce Love is he's a great runner. He's a great receiver. The only reason he wasn't the starter every year at Stanford was because he was behind Christian McCaffrey. And a lot of people want to say, well, with our talk with Rosalie, she wanted to bring up how Ron Rivera said that Antonio Gibson is his Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Well, you know what? They actually brought in Bryce Love in the drafting process, worked him out, and loved him in Carolina. And
did they draft him in Carolina? I can't remember.
No, because Washington drafted him ahead of him.
So, okay.
So, and it's a guy coming off an ACL tear. So there's all the, where do you stand with that as an organization? Do you want to bring in an injured running back? So Bryce
Love is the $15 bag of jerky that he's been around for a year, just in the in the
Seasoning.
bag, left over from the last camping trip, and you forgot you
yeah.
had it.
That's the great
And
thing about jerky is it
just
keeps forever and it's still great. And so, the thing is, if he gets the opportunity, he is a great player. And we can't argue that. He was going to be, he was in the conversation for being a first, second round pick before he tore his ACL in college. Was Antonio Gibson ever in the conversation to be a first round pick?
No, but Antonio Gibson is that roast that you stopped at the grocery store on the way to your camping trip, because you got that new roast to put in your new Dutch oven. That is your new system, and you got that new roast, and it's just a matter of, what are you going to choose? Like, what are they going to choose to eat? I think that's the kind of the
Well,
fun
here's the
story.
thing about roast: you got to wait on it to cook and develop.
Hey, man, you're right, but and so maybe that's what you need to know, listeners,
The
that
jerky is ready now.
jerky may be ready now, but if you let that roast simmer, it might have a little bit higher upside in terms of taste and long-term value.
It'll be ready by the time you're ready to leave camp.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. It's interesting thought, and I think that that's a fun storyline to watch, and it seems like there's a lot of excitement around the Washington football team and their offense since Ron Rivera has come in, which is interesting because Jay Gruden was an offense guy, but there's a lot of hype around that Washington team.
Yeah, but the offensive coordinator there, he's the same offensive coordinator that was with Carolina. He liked him in college. Like I said, they brought him in for an interview during the draft process. Ultimately didn't get to draft him, but it is something to watch. And I don't think that any one of them is going to be like a league winner, but they're all going to have some kind of value because they're going to split that backfield up a lot of different ways. It's a good thing about camping, you can just eat what you want.
That's true. So, moving on, I see something in the distance, and the Vikings and Dalvin Cook contract negotiations look like that storm that I can see off in the distance, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not to set up my tent for the night. And I hear the thunder cracking far away, and I don't know if it's going to get to me, or am I in the clear? And only time's going to tell whether or not the storm will arrive or whether Cook is going to skip any games in protest of his contract negotiations. So I'm saying that you need to set up your tent or draft Cook with at your own peril. I mean, you need to be careful.
So those clouds represent the risk of drafting Dalvin Cook or of setting up your tent. Do you want to
I should say risk, yeah, not peril, because we don't know if it's imminent. So risk is the better word.
Yeah. So you're sitting there at the fourth pick, third pick, wherever you're at, and you're considering between two guys. Say it's Dalvin Cook or Michael Thomas. One has safety, the other has immense upside. What are you going to do? You're going to set up that tent and try to get it up before the rain comes, or you're going to sit in your car and might be there all night while it's raining. So,
well, you could drive to the safe, 3-star option of the Holiday Inn Express. You know exactly what you're going to get, what the room's going to be like, and that might be your Michael Thomas. Like it's not going to be the same experience or same upside as being able to camp under the stars, but it might be safer.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing we don't realize, Michael Thomas never finished as the wide receiver 1 last year. Not one time. He was always, right there in the top 3 or 4, but never did finish as the wide receiver 1. But he was the most
like in a week.
In a week. Okay. But he was the most consistent player on the field every single week, and so it led to him being the wide receiver 1.
So it's a fun little fact. You were just saying that you're sitting there at the 4 or the 3 pick, and you're considering whether or not to draft Dalvin Cook. And I want to kind of touch on that. Are you considering? Are you advocating that we should consider Dalvin Cook at the 3 spot?
I mean, I think so another safety guy, Ezekiel Elliott, super safe player, but I think Dalvin Cook's upside is higher. So it's which one do you want? Do you want to roll those dice? I'm a guy that believes in those first 4 or 5 picks, you need to take safety, because they're all great players.
Mhm.
So when we say, the upside's higher, Dalvin Cook is going to handle the rock probably more than Zeke does on a week-to-week
Yeah,
basis
less
as long as
weapons
he's
and
there.
yeah. So
Yeah. But, uh, I
you
don't
don't know
know.
about the contract
Yeah,
situation. You don't
yeah.
know about the injury situation.
I
You don't
think
know
he's
about
I think he's going to be there. He said he's looking to week 1.
Yeah.
When the contracts when they stopped the contract talks, they said he said his words, "I'm just looking to week 1 now." And that's not to say that a contract doesn't happen. It could still happen, but now he's playing for a contract.
Yeah.
And there are whispers in the bushes that the cap drops next year rather than raises. So he's going to have to do a lot to prove that he's worth that mega contract.
So the forecast looks promising. So I'm more skeptical of Dalvin Cook than you are, Josh. But I'm not like poo-pooing on him and kicking him out of the first round or anything crazy like that.
I'm just uncertain. I'm uncertain. I'm not one way or the other. If we take his word for what it is, but we saw that with Lev Bell 2 years ago, where some people took his word for what it was, and turned out,
he lied.
Like Magic Johnson said, I ain't gonna be there. So, that's a good analogy, I think.
All right, what else you got for us, Josh? We're in our camping trip.
You ever had a Dutch oven cobbler?
I have not. Well, no, I don't think I've had cobbler and I've had stuff out of the Dutch oven, but I don't think I've ever had a Dutch oven cobbler.
It is a treat, my friend. Like Dutch oven cobbler, it's a treat when you go camping. You got that Dutch oven, you throw your ingredients in there. It looks awesome. And you know what else looks awesome is Jonathan Taylor. Man, he's looking good. He's running over defenders. He's hitting the hole with decisiveness. He brings a complete look to the backfield, and he's just having to earn his touches, and it's kind of like the pot roast, the cobbler. It takes a little time to cook, but when you trade up to grab that guy, more than likely, you're going to eat some of that cobbler that year. And so it's going to be worth it to wait on that cobbler. I think if you can get you a little Jonathan Taylor, what kind of cobbler you like? Blackberry, peach, apple?
I like peach cobbler. Peach. I like apple cobbler too. But peach is probably my favorite.
Oh, I love apple cobbler. Peach is good. It's all good. It's all lethal. But Jonathan Taylor is also good. And if I can get me a little bit of that cobbler at my campsite this season, but he is looking great in camp. Let's not lose sight of the purpose of this exercise. He's looking good. He's looking sweet. It's just going to take him a little time to get past Marlon Mack, I believe.
He's currently going. His ADP has him going behind Marlon Mack, and I think we both agree that if you're drafting one of the Indianapolis running backs, you want Jonathan Taylor.
He's going behind Marlon Mack in ADP.
In ADP,
I've not seen him go behind Marlon Mack in any.
That's anything that I'm doing. That's I agree. That's wild. But yeah, on the fantasy football calculator that we've used, Marlon Mack's going at 5'10" and Jonathan Taylor's going at 604.
So I think maybe they take it from the last month. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but the hype is real, and he's going to go in the 3rd or 4th round most likely.
Well, I was just pulling up his ADP because I was wondering where he's currently going, and they've got him in 6th round. And if you get him in the 6th round, goodness gracious, but you're not going to. He's going before that. They've still got Todd Gurley in the 5th round, and Todd's all over the 3rd round.
Yeah. Something's up with that. I don't know. Get your stuff together there.
I know, man. I need to. Yeah. I thought you were talking to me, but I'm just reporting the facts.
What's in front of you, right?
Yeah. So I got another not rookie running back, but he's almost a rookie. Damian Harris has been getting a heavy workload, quote, heavy workload, according to reports, in camp, and he's running with the first team offense. Sony Michel is that he's been nursing a foot injury. Lamar Miller's not practicing yet, so Damian Harris is getting on the work. So I've used Sony Michel as that safe, short trail that the family can hike to say you went on a hike, when you went camping. But they just opened this new trail, and it's a little bit longer, a little bit harder, but they say that it takes you to the view of a beautiful waterfall. I view Damian Harris as that new trail. It's unknown, but your family needs to hike that trail, and you would rather get you would rather have that new trail, that Damian Harris on your team than Sony Michel. You know what you're getting with Sony Michel, and it's not.
Sony Michel's the Greenway.
He's just the safe kind of.
Inner city Greenway.
I use the boring Greenway. Just he's going to give you short runs, short trail. You drafted a running back. You're probably going to start him every week, but he's going to get you 8 to 12 points, but not a lot of upside. You're not going to, take pictures and selfies and be really excited about it. Where if you complete that big hike, you go to the mountaintop and you take a picture of that waterfall. That's something you're gonna print that picture and put it on your wall.
What's Damian Harris's ADP looking like these days as we go into draft week?
Well, according to this one that's all jacked up, Damian Harris is going in the 13th round.
That's probably pretty close to accurate, I would say.
Yeah, that's closer to accurate than the other guys that we just mentioned. So he's going at 1308, and Sony Michel's going higher than that. I skip by Sony Michel, but I think even if you're getting Damian Harris, with these reports, if you're getting him in the 11th or 12th round, that's not a bad value.
Only thing I'll say about the analogy, I don't think either one of them are leading you to a beautiful waterfall. I just
it's just not that offense. Yeah, that's true. Sony Michel's going in the 8th round, which isn't like he's not super expensive, but I think that it's just an incredibly low ceiling.
I think it falls a little more too. He may end up in the 9th or 10th.
It wouldn't surprise me either. But I agree with you that but here's the thing. I think we have some data on Sony Michel on what we're going to get from him. Whereas with Damian Harris, we don't have any data yet, and so it might be the beautiful waterfall. I don't know, but
I want more red zone looks than what they're going to provide, I believe. But
it's that new unknown. Yeah, that's a fair statement. So it's a fun story to follow there in New England.
Yeah. Well, the last one that I really had for you guys, and after we've talked about cobblers and pot roast and jerky, it really doesn't sound that good to say somebody looks like ketchup or relish or mustard, whatever condiment it is that you like. But Joe Burrow, he's making everything better, just like those condiments, man. And in camp, he's dropping dimes all over the place ever since camp started. He's making Auden Tate look like a baller.
Oh yeah.
And there's if Joe Burrow can be that ketchup, that relish, that mustard in year one, and make everybody better around, there's going to be some fantasy value found in Cincy, because with a rookie quarterback, you don't really ever know what you're going to get. But man, he's looking like he's really picked up the offense. Which, granted, he was working on that offense for a couple of weeks before he got drafted. But he's working on the offense. He's got the timing. He's building a rapport with those wide receivers. Their defense is not going to be great, so there's going to be room to score some points, fantasy wise. And I think he's kind of maybe he himself is not exciting, because I don't want a rookie rookie quarterback on my seasonal team, on my redraft team. But
yeah, I agree.
He's going to make all these other players that I do want better.
Yeah, I agree. What do you make of the which ketchup, or which wide receiver you putting ketchup on the most, or how do you feel about that wide receiver situation there? And
so wide receivers in particular, man, AJ Green would have been the pick, but he's already got the hamstring going on again. But I think the guy's he's not played football in a year and a half, so obviously we should have expected some growing pains coming back in. Man, I kind of like taking a swing on John Ross.
Yeah. He hasn't been in camp because there's got taking care of his family as they deal with some COVID stuff. So
he opted out.
Has he opted out completely?
You know what? I'm going to have to do a little research on that. If he has opted out, now that you've refreshed my memory, I believe he has. I'm just Joe Mixon's the one I wanted.
So I love Tyler Boyd. He had some great stats I don't have in front of me. Working out of the slot last year, was the number one. He was the number one slot guy essentially over the past 2 years, and I mean he's on the field. He's like constantly there. He's been able to stay healthy, and he's just incredibly consistent production. And he's going, like down in the 8th, 9th round. I think that's a great value at where you can get him.
Yeah, it's fair. It's a fair value, but
7th round, sir.
Auden Tate is probably going in the double digit,
He's going undrafted.
Undrafted. So
Yeah.
if he's really building a rapport with Joe Burrow like that, and Joe Burrow likes him, man, he could be a steal. And if he ends up paying back,
and Auden Tate's proven that he can produce, fantasy wise.
Yeah, could be a league winner. So
I like that. I like that analogy of just Joe Burrow, and that's similar to kind of how he ended up being at LSU. That's a good description of him. He's just he's the glue, the condiment that just spruces it up. What's your favorite condiment that kind of sets everything up for you?
Man, depending on what I'm eating, I'm going to go with ketchup. I use it more than anything, I'd say, but I like hot sauce a lot, so it's tough to say.
Yeah, I agree. It depends on, kind of what I'm eating. I will say that, back when we had Wingers, the restaurant, they had a special sauce, and not like the special sauce, but it was called Amazing Sauce from Wingers. Is their signature sauce, and it was so good. I put it on everything, but now that they're closed, I just have to scramble for some ketchup or buffalo sauce or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good, but like we said, if I'm just thinking about my favorite, ketchup's the most versatile. You can put it on anything. So that's Joe Burrow's the ketchup, baby.
Oh yeah. All right. So I've got Chris Herndon and Jamison Crowder look to have the eye of Sam Darnold. And we know in that Jets organization as a whole is going to go as Sam Darnold goes. So they have to hope that they hit on Sam Darnold 2 years ago. So he's the most important part of that offense. And he's definitely the chocolate bar on the s'more, the most important part. But looks like Herndon and Crowder, the graham cracker and marshmallow that completes it. And there aren't any other ingredients pass catcher wise that are necessary for the s'more or that are draftable for the New York Jets. So I'm not touching Brashad Perryman.
I didn't see the extent of it, but I saw he suffered an injury.
Okay. Well, I mean, he was already running behind. So if he's suffered an injury again, or also, then, it's going to put him more behind. I think that there's other there's other lottery ticket wild cards that you can draft in that bargain bin double digit round. Than Brashad Perryman. So those are the only two Jets wide receivers that have any draftability for me.
Lev Bell, he's going to catch some passes out of the backfield.
I put him he's a running back, so he's draftable.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just making sure that we're clear. Lev Bell is still a good player and catches a lot of balls, even if Mr. Gase is saying that he's going to keep him fresh with 35-year-old Frank Gore. But it's he's going to get some work out of the backfield as a receiver. Darnold showed in year 1 that he has the ability. Year 2, he dealt with the
teenager disease.
Yeah, those smoochy smooch, and he's got to show that he can put a full season together, because it was a tale of two halves both seasons, and this year is going to be important for his growth. But I think he's a fine quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they should be hopeful for him. And Herndon was just a rookie 2 years ago, and he's constantly been on the hype train and had a lot of just hype surrounding his, being in that role or that offense or in the league. And he's not panned out yet. And I don't know if I know last year he was suspended for a minute, I believe, right?
Yeah, he dealt with a 4-game suspension early in the season. And
was it substance? Or
I think it was, yeah.
PDs. So, I mean, he's clearly a guy who, is in tip-top shape. He's using, all the substances that he needs to stay ahead. So, I mean, I like a guy that's going to,
Well, we saw last year, Herndon's a much better athlete than Ryan Griffin. And we saw Ryan Griffin have a lot of success in that offense. And we've seen it before with Adam Gase when he was the offensive coordinator with the Denver Broncos. Which, I mean, Peyton was a big part of that as well. But, with Thomas over there, what's his name?
Demarius.
Demarius was the wide receiver. There was two of them,
There
Demarius
was
Thomas and the tight end. I can't
Oh,
remember.
he was just like around for just a minute. Like
But he was a monster
yeah.
while Peyton was there. He made him great, and he ended up going to Miami and then just falling off. Of course, he followed Adam Gase to Miami, I believe. Big mistake, but yeah, I think that's a good pick though. Those two guys, and they're going relatively cheap. Well, Herndon is a last round pick, so I mean, you know, you can finish out your team with a guy like Herndon if you waited on tight end, and potentially have a top 5 tight end. You know.
Yeah, I mean he has that potential and could, you know, in that offense. Man, who was that? Who was that tight end? It's gonna bother me. Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes because I know I know everyone's bothered by it. I can tell. You still with me, Josh?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was trying to find it real quick, but it's probably not gonna. Julius Thomas.
Julius, golly, I can't want to say Ian because of current. Yeah, Julius Thomas. Yeah, and he fell off the map. So, how many careers did Peyton Manning make? You know,
Brandon Stokely, Julius Thomas. I mean, Brandon Stokely.
Adam
Gase. He was back with Denver as well. Adam Gase. Yes, absolutely, Adam Gase. You know that man left his wife like they were having a baby, and he left immediately after the baby was born, so he could go hang out with Peyton. So, like, I mean, he knew Peyton made his career. So, yeah, it's Peyton was he was a machine.
Yeah, he was a career maker. Yeah, that's that's fun. So,
do you have any other snacks you want to hit on, or campfire sing-alongs, or
some campfire sing-alongs? You know, a couple things that have been happening. If we kind of stay with the tight ends that are going on, there's so many camp stories. But up in Minnesota, Irv Smith has been running with playing on the outside. They've been kind of quote experimenting with that, which is interesting, you know, because he's a heck of an athlete in Minnesota. So and there's no one else really to catch. They're kind of
they're void of talent on the outside. Everything they have, every person they have as a wide receiver is a slot type receiver. They've overloaded on that. I mean, when they drafted Jefferson in the draft, it's just like, well, you got rid of Diggs. Okay. Yeah. Adam Thielen has shown that when he's on the outside, he loses those matchups with top corners. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. So I think that's good for them to throw some mud at the wall. And so they're trying something new. I don't know if there's anything to it. But he could make for Irv Smith being a decent flyer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's another last round option that you have there, or maybe a free agent pickup after you get done with the draft and you're looking, you know, poking around on there, and you say, "Well, I'm gonna give Irv Smith a role." But another situation that's interesting to me is the Denver running back situation. Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. You know, Gordon's having trouble with that thin air there in Mile High, and Philip Lindsay's just denied the doubters ever since he entered the league. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think it's a split backfield that I'm looking to avoid myself.
Yeah, and I wonder how they're going to do the split. I think is kind of we won't know until the season starts. But are they going to do it by
drive?
You know, by drive, because you know, even though Melvin Gordon's the bigger back, he's a pass catcher. I mean, he's caught a ton of balls.
He's a better pass catcher than Lindsay is.
Right. So but Lindsay's smaller, so it would seem like he would be the
third down back,
but he's not. Yeah. So, you know, which one you like? We're probably not drafting either one if we're honest, and advocating for you. But Melvin Gordon's going at the 310.
Lindsay's cheaper. That's the one I want.
Yeah, Lindsay's going at the 808. I mean, that's a huge difference for a backfield that's probably going to be split.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're smart, I think they try to find a way to get both guys on the field as much as they can together, and kind of cause some problems for defenses, because they have a very diverse skill set between the two of them. But it's going to be hard to do that after the draft they had, adding KJ Hamler, adding Jerry Jeudy. They already have Demarius Sorry, not Demarius Thomas. Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton there. So it's going to be hard to get everybody on the field at the same time. But if they can figure out a way to do it, they're gonna make some headaches for defensive coordinators.
Yeah, staying in the AFC West, it seems like the Athletic cleared up the Raiders' 3 wide receiver set. So we were wondering, how quickly Brian Edwards was gonna kind of take on that role. But the primary 3 wide receiver setup, according to Vic Tafur from the Athletic, has Ruggs at the Z, Tyrell Williams at X, and Hunter Renfrow in the slot. So we were wondering if Ruggs was going to play, be lined up in the slot, but he's going to be lined up in the Z. So Tyrell Williams will take the main coverage and the clear out.
It'll be interesting to see what we know and what turns out to be true and what turns out to be just a story, leading into the season, because they're not showing their hand on all this stuff. This is how they gain an advantage, with murky water, throwing a little mud in the water and kind of mixing it up so you can't see straight through to the bedrock there.
Yeah, but what would it benefit them to not give Brian Edwards those reps? Like they're not they may not show their plays.
I didn't necessarily. I just meant the reporting on how the setup's exactly going to be. With him being here, and here, like, because we had the report come out early about Henry Ruggs going into the slot. So I'm just interested to see if it's going to be a mix up. Like maybe they do some, this and that and the other. It makes the most sense to have Hunter Renfrow in the slot because of his size.
Yeah, if you're going to have him on the field,
it makes stuff happen in space.
Play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree there.
So, anyways, all in all, it's been fun to have real football stories and not, who's opting out for COVID or who's scared of COVID or which player said something about COVID. It's been so nice to just be, game planning, football, positional battles. It feels good to have these conversations. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So which drafts you got coming up, Josh? I know we've got our League of Record draft coming up this weekend. You pick at the number 2, right?
Yep. That's where I'm sitting. Number 2.
So who are you eyeballing there? Who do you hope that number 1 takes?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'd love to have Christian McCaffrey, but I'm pretty sure Christian McCaffrey's not going to be there. So it's going to be between Saquon and Zeke for me, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'm fine taking Zeke. Like I am. Like,
yeah. Even at 2, I feel like Saquon's the obvious choice there too. If Cap's gone.
So we say that, but the receptions are probably going to come down to the offensive scheme change. And now the head coach that handed Saquon the ball as much as he did the first 2 seasons, he's gone. Like, I just wonder what's going to happen now. And I'm not scared to take Saquon. Like I said, he's in my conversation to take it too, but I just think there are a few more question marks there than what there were.
Yeah. So, well, I'm excited. It'd be interesting. See how it plays out. Do you have any others they're drafting this week?
This week, I do not have any other drafts this week. I do have one the first week of September. So,
gotcha. Sweet. So we'll have an even clearer picture by then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually the Megalo Bowl. It's the big thousands and thousands of teams in it. It's that draft. So
I just felt like you turned into The Rock there for a second. The thousands and thousands.
I wish I turned into The Rock just for a minute. That'd be okay. Yeah, but yeah, the thousands and thousands of teams in the Megalo Bowl. Yeah. Well, it's gonna be fun.
Yep. And so to put a bow on our storylines, the storyline that we missed and the news item that we missed actually was where The Rock bought the XFL. So we'll have to put that on hold and remember to bring that back up because I'd be interested in discussing that on air with you.
Yeah. And $15 million, wasn't it, or something? Like it was. It was peanuts. Seemed pretty cheap, yeah. And he had a buyers group go in with him on that. So I'm not sure why when he's worth $360-something million. The millions and millions of The Rock's dollars. Yeah. So,
well, teamwork makes the dream work. So when you got a team of people around, you got a you got more knowledge going into it. So I don't know. Could be. Well, I think that does it though for today's show, Josh.
Yeah, it's been fun. Let's go camping.
All right. I'll make some reservations, and we'll make it happen.
All right, man. Well, it's been fun talking with you, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to check out the Non-Neutral Zone on Twitter at non-neutral-zone1. Drop us an email, non-neutralzone@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook. Thanks a lot, everybody. We're out of here.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe wherever you listen and don't fall into the neutral zone.